Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. Today we are talking about the challenge once again. And if you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, here's what you can do. Because we're talking about the cast of the next season. We're talking about the best finales of all time and whatever comes in between. We'll start with the finales, and that's where the giveaway is. So you smash the like button to the episode, you leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and rank your 3 favorite finales of all time. And there's no set way to rank finales. It could be you enjoyed the people who were in them, you enjoyed how difficult it was, how entertaining it was, whatever criteria that you want to use. List your top 3 of all time. You're in a draw for 20 DK bucks. Also, if you subscribe to the Pat Mayo audio podcast at Pat Mayo Experience, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, TuneIn, wherever it might be. So do that for one. Rate 5 stars, leave your DraftKings handle, and leave something nice about the show, because who doesn't like hearing nice things about themselves? But if you do that, you'll also be in a draw for 20 DK bucks. If you hit the description for the video, you can find and podcast, I suppose, our rankings for the best seasons of all time, Rob McIntyre's poll for the best female challenger of all time, and you'll be able to skip ahead if you don't really care about finales, you just want to hear about next season. Hey, you can find the timestamp in there. So go check that out as well, or just watch the entire thing and be entertained the entire time. Let's bring him in right now. Host of the Challenge Chronicles podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts. It's Rob McIntyre. Rob, the season is over. I thoroughly enjoyed this season. I think it's this and Dirty 30 as the best 2 seasons of the past few years at least. And I'm struggling a little bit of where do I insert it? Is it a top 10 season? Is it a top 5 season? Because I don't know, right now, maybe I'm just riding high coming off this finale, but it was really good.
No, I definitely agree. I don't like reacting right away because then I think you're prone to being impulsive and putting it too high or too low. I really think this could end up as like my number 3 favorite season, though, behind the Duel and Rivals 2.
Duel, Rivals 2. I like Inferno 2 better. I like Duel 2 better.
Than this season?
Free Agents, maybe. So it's around that range. I think it's in the mix with those ones.
Yeah, I've actually been going back and rewatching earlier episodes a lot just because I like to rescore each of the episodes to make sure I didn't miss anything earlier on. And the beginning of the season is also really, really good. Like, for as long as the pairs are in place, I think you could argue this was the best season of all time. And then once they switch it to individual, it slows down a little bit.
Yeah, the twist halfway through, I mean, it didn't really end up affecting all that much. It was still enjoyable to go through. It just kind of threw some wonky rules into the season. But I prefer this twist over like the Dirty 30 type of, hey, there's a redemption house and no one's actually out. I did like there was a finality to the season. Once you lost, you were gone. I really hate redemption houses. I really hate them so much.
Yeah, I think having the finale, I don't mind the redemption house as much as other people. But like even going back to episode 2, Hunter and Georgia knocking out Smashley and Chase, and Hunter enacting his revenge has so much less weight to it if Smashley can just come back into the game 3 episodes later.
Yeah, I mean, I even totally forgot that happened. Turbo didn't go into an elimination the entire season, did he?
Well, he helped Georgia beat Nani in elimination.
Yeah, but he was never in any danger of going home.
No, he was like picked by the tribunal a few times, but he was never in elimination.
Yeah, I would think that, spoiler alert for next season, Turbo was in the cast. So I think that after watching this one, people might say, you know what, let's just throw Turbo in until he goes home.
Well, we'll get there eventually. There's a lot of people in that cast, though, who you'd think, hey, we have to get rid of them early, and then eventually we just might not be able to.
All right, so let's talk about the finale rankings. This was... Before, if it was the most enjoyable finale of all time or whatever, was it the hardest finale of all time?
I definitely think you'd have to say it was. The other 2 that come up in that discussion usually are X's 1 and Rivals 1 finales. And Wes and Cara both did the Rivals 1 finale, and they both said after the fact that this one was easily much more difficult. So.
Yeah, I think, I mean, if we let's just try to rank them. I do agree that it probably is the most difficult one, especially because, you know, the X, I think it's X's one. That was the one that was in the complete cold, right? On the glacier?
Yeah, that was the one on the glacier where Johnny and Camilla come from behind to beat TT and GM.
Okay, so I think that running in the heat is probably worse than running in the cold. Like, there's nothing you can really do when it's too hot out. At least when it's too cold out, you can just continue to add layers and keep yourself somewhat warm. Being overheated and like not eating and running the amount that they had to run in this one was just kind of off the charts bonkers. So it was kind of like a better version of the Battle of the Seasons final, I feel.
Yeah, I think that final gets kind of underrated in terms of how hard that one actually was. But this one was like that one taken up to 11. So
Yeah, so this one is in the running for best ever. I actually think the one on the glacier that Bananas and Camilla ended up winning against CT and Diem and Ty and Emily was probably it's this one or that one. I think it comes down to those two.
yeah, those were the two I had as my top two as well. I really think this one just probably ends up being better. And because it was stretched out over 2 episodes, and a lot of times when that happens, like with the Invasion of the Champions finale, after 2 episodes, it was just you were just done with it. But this one was actually able to keep you entertained throughout.
So what are the other ones that are like close to that list? Like even some like the older challenges. Like what was the best finale of all the older ones? I feel like Cutthroats was pretty good with the 3 teams because like Abe had food poisoning and passed out during it.
Yeah, that one I think was really well designed. The issue with that one, though, is once Abe and Sarah went down, it kind of just became a formality that the red team was going to win because the blue team at that point was just Jen and Emily. And then the gray team had lost like half their people and Laurel was crying. So it just was not a good situation for them.
So what are the other good old ones? What's the one where Eazy-E passed out? Was that Inferno 3 or Gauntlet 3?
That's Gauntlet 3. I don't think that one's not really entertaining, though.
Any of the Infernos? Like the Inferno 1 finale is just like with the 7 deadly sin stages. That's not a bad one. It's just not difficult.
No, that one actually wasn't designed that poorly. I just think in execution, the Road Rules team kind of won that one handily. I think of the really old ones, the best one is actually the Gauntlet finale. Real World actually looked like it could have won, but then Coral got bit by that spider. And so then they had to take a time penalty to medically evacuate her, and then ended up just barely losing to Road Rules.
Oh, you know what was another really good one? Was the Fresh Meat 2 final. The one where Landon pushed Carly up the mountain. That's where
Landon and Carly beat. Yeah, that one is another really good one. Free Agents is another pretty good one where Johnny beats Johnny Riley and they climb up that glacier. That one's kind of similar to the X's one in practice, but since it's Free Agents, they haven't switched around the pairs throughout.
I'm trying to think, what was the finale for Fresh Meat 1?
That was just the one on the beach. That one's like, it's Darrell and Aviv versus Kenny and Tina and Wes and Casey. So Wes is just like trying to carry Casey and it's not working. And then Kenny and Tina are pretty far behind too. So that one's a very much a formality of a final.
Yeah, sometimes we get that like from a non-competitive standpoint. Like,
yeah,
what are the worst finales? Because it feels like Final Reckoning is pretty bad. And last season's was pretty bad as well. Invasion of the Champions was pretty bad. Bloodlines was pretty bad.
Just the execution of the finale, the Gauntlet 2 finale, I know you like it, but that one's pretty disastrous.
Oh, I mean, it's a very non-competitive finale. It's just I only enjoy it just the way that they rigged, like the team that won rigged it for them to win. It was the smartest move that they could have pulled, and I don't see how the other team didn't see it coming.
No, well, both of them tried to do the same thing. If you look back at it, so real quick recap here. So you have like 100 coins you could put on the 3 different events. And then if however many coins you put on the event, that's how much the pot is for that event. So the veterans have, which is actually a pretty smart idea, of taking their entire team except for Anissa and I think maybe one other person and putting them all on the eating portion of the finale. And then putting all their coins on that part of the finale. And then the rookies team adopts a similar strategy, but isn't as extreme. But then the rookies actually end up winning the mission because a beast just dusts everybody in the eating mission. So then they win.
Yeah, so it was
like an 8-minute finale.
It was very lackluster. I don't even remember what the finale for Inferno 2 is.
That's so that one is it's mostly just a running and biking final. There's really not much going on with that one. The good guys win pretty handily because Tanya's hungover. Yeah,
so like the dual ones are that I do remember that now. The dual one where Wes beats Brad is it's okay. What's the dual 2? Is that the one where like Anissa almost drowned in the river with Mark Long?
Yeah, that's when where Anissa almost drowned her and Mark Long in the river, and then Evan beats Brad by like 4 seconds.
See, that's not a bad finale. It looked hard.
No, that one's definitely good. See, that's the thing with finales. There's a bunch of different factors that go into it because there's the like actual execution of the finale from the producer's standpoint in terms of how well designed it is, if it's actually like competitively balanced. Then there's the cast in it, if how they go to the finale. Are they entertaining cast, confessional watch? So that's one thing that becomes really important, especially with individual finales, is you don't really get much back and forth between the cast themselves. The confessional delivery becomes really important. And then also just what actually happens. Like, is the finale close? Is it dramatic? Does it have something like Rivals to Your Final Reckoning where someone steals the money at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I like that twist the first time. I kind of nothinged it the second time because every time that someone gets put into that position, whoever makes the decision now is just always going to keep the money.
I don't know if that's totally true, but I think with one thing that actually has really put them into a box, I think, though, because now it seems like if they don't have an overall individual winner, then the season kind of like it isn't as impactful, if that makes sense. Like if they have a pair season in the future and they don't do that twist, it'll almost feel like something's missing. But then if they do it, it'll feel like it's overplayed. So now they get put into this box where they have to do all these individual finales, and not just individual, like just guys and just girls, like individual with one winner overall. And then either A, it becomes unfair for the girls like we saw with this finale, or B, then they have to install those terrible equalizers that they have no idea what they're doing with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the equalizer this time was connect forward, which Kara couldn't figure out.
Yeah, but even then, that's not really an equalizer. Like, that's just a puzzle. That's a small part of the finale.
Well, do you like that part of, like, would you prefer, like, a race type of finale? Like, that's what we saw on the Glacier with CT and Diem and Bananas and Camilla. Like, you all got to a certain point, and then, like, the last part of it was a sprint, and whoever got there first actually won. And we've seen that a couple times. But now we're seeing, like, these stations as well, where it's, like, a cumulative score all the way through. Like, we saw that on the Dirty 30 finale. I actually like the Dirty 30 finale a lot. It looked pretty tough. And Jordan just
the Dirty finale.
And Jordan dusted everyone, and it was pretty clear the entire time, despite the fact that he was like running on a broken leg. But I think it works better, at least from a drama standpoint, if you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, and I also think execution-wise it works much better, because then, like, what happened with the Rivals 1 finale, and which is why I don't like it that much, is because after the first stage of the finale, Kenny and Wes were ahead by like an hour. And then for the second stage, they only got like a 2-minute head start. And that was actually a really small part of the finale overall. So then if you have it timed the way they did, you can still keep it dramatic. Like, you can keep viewers more in the dark with what's going on, but then actually reward the person or the people that did the best in the finale overall.
Yeah, I think I would be pro just having it be a race and whoever crosses the finish line first wins. But trying to get drama out of that is we've just seen it so few times. Like, it just usually turns into a runaway and like, oh, of course, this person's going to win. It really kills the momentum of a finale. Like you said, like, they were able to carry 2 episodes with this one, and I wasn't bored for a single second, to tell you the truth.
No, these were really good episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked the elimination halfway through. I mean, I didn't like the elimination, and I thought that they made just a very, very poor choice voting in Hunter. Like, that made no sense to me, but...
Yeah, that made 0 sense.
Like, how do you not vote in Ninja, right?
Yeah, I mean, she ended up going in anyways, and who knows, maybe she would have just picked Hunter. So maybe it would have been the same thing overall. But yeah, the reasoning for voting in Hunter is like, oh, he's dying. Like, he's not going to be able to finish. It's like, well, if he can't finish, let's bring him along for the next part, and then we'll have one less person to worry about.
Yeah, like if you're in a race with 6 people and it's a timed event, like, why are you voting out the guy who's in last place by hours?
Yeah, it'd be like if the Patriots just randomly selected to get the Jets out of their division and bring in like the Chiefs or something. Like, it just makes no sense.
This is true. All right, you want to talk about the cast for the next season, or any final thoughts on this one?
No, just that I really do think this season was really, really good. And I think if people are a little bit colder on this season, just because I thought the ending was a little bit slow, just go back and rewatch the part of the season where it's pairs and it's kind of just a Georgia Hunter Bear West show. And that part of it's just outstanding.
Okay. Let's talk about the cast for the next season. You want to do the reveal, or do you want me to do it?
What's your preference?
All right, you let us know the female cast that's there right now. It's in Thailand, and we don't know the format for the season, do we?
No, we don't have any we have a few guesses on the theme, but we have nothing concrete. And then this is still liable to change, so who knows? If we have 2 or 3 wrong, or then there's 2 or 3 people who are there that we don't have yet. But so for the girls, we have Cara Maria, Laurel, Tori, Ninja Natalie, Georgia, Smashley, Nani, Cam, Devon, Faith from Vanderpump, Kaylee, Zahida, Dee, Nicole Bass, and Tula Fazakarli, who are both new.
Nicole Bass is from X on the Beach, UK, and Tula is from, I don't even know what Shipwrecked UK is. Wasn't there someone from that this year?
Yeah, Bear actually was originally from Shipwrecked. And then Nicole is actually really good friends with Georgia from this season. So they both have connections to cast who's been on before.
All right, so what do you make of what you think the format is actually going to be? It seems like a singles, doesn't it?
I would imagine they'd go back to individuals just because this past season was in pairs for the most part of the season, and the season before that was pairs throughout. So I think they'd go back to individuals. I really think the show works best as a co-ed pair format because that keeps the cast all in sync. Like everyone has to work together, and then you don't have to worry about installing equalizers or any of those things. So I would prefer a co-ed pair or maybe like 4-person teams with 2 guys and 2 girls on each team. But I do think it'll be back to individual for this one.
Okay, so the guys cast, pretty stacked. I mean, the girls cast is pretty stacked to begin with. I guess you could, out of all the available people, Emily Schramm is the only one you could really inject in. That's the only one I can think that is missing, but she's not doing these seasons anymore.
Well, Maddie also isn't on the cast. So I think they could bring in.
That blows my mind because I saw that she was getting into like super good shape that I just assumed she was on this season. I didn't even register that she wasn't there. Maybe she's the one that they're missing.
Maybe so. She was someone I was thinking about they might be missing because like it seems like the rest of the cast liked her too. The producers liked her. TJ liked her. Maybe she just has some other obligation going on, which is why she's not on. Who knows? Like with these things, some people criticize the producers, but it could always be the person's decision and not their decision. So we don't really know.
And there's and we didn't get any olds either from the female cast. I guess like Laurel and Cara are the 2 like veterans along with Nani, but there's no like Veronica or I thought that maybe when you said Tori, it's Tori Deal, who's awesome. I thought it was gonna be like Brad's wife Tori.
No, it's not Brad's ex Tori. I think with the girls, it's kind of harder to find someone who would still be competitive with the current cast, bringing them back from the past. Because it's like someone like Evelyn, for example, is pretty clearly passed the show by. Emily has a business she runs now, so I don't know if she can really afford to leave.
I would say that Evelyn would probably still be pretty good, to tell you the truth. She's just not.
Oh, no, she definitely would.
She's just not going to do it.
No, yeah, she just graduated from like Harvard or Yale Law School and is in London or something now. So
yeah. So the guys cast. Here we go. We got Mr. John Bananas. He is back. Wes is back, which blows my mind. Turbo is back. Jordan, Theo, Joss, Zach, Polly, Kyle, Leroy, Bear, Josh, your boy, the Gus Bus. Gus is back from Florida Bama Shore. Rogan is back for the first time since he was knocked out at the beginning of Dirty 30 running up that hill. And then we have...
It was Vendettas.
Oh, was it Vendettas? And we have Idris Virgo from Love Island and Sean Lineker from Shipwrecked UK. That is a pretty stacked cast.
So I enjoy this cast definitely for the most part. I think it'll definitely seem extremely competitive. There are a few of the alumni I would like to see switched around a little bit, but outside of that, it looks very good.
Yeah, like I don't need Zach on these shows anymore. He's like an absolute zero at this point.
Because like outside him and Amanda were a relatively entertaining pair in Final Reckoning, but outside of that, he just doesn't seem like he wants to be there. And honestly, for a cast, like there's a bunch of different things that go into making a good cast member. But the 2 sort of baseline qualifications, I want people who want to be there, and I want people who are there to win. And then I don't know if Zach even fits out of those categories at this point.
Is there a chance that this is a rival season?
I was thinking about that. I would really enjoy this season if it was like a 4-person team of rivals season where you could have each team of 4 people have like 1 or 2 rivals on the team. Like maybe you have a team of like Kyle, Pauly, Cara, and Ashley or Faith as a team.
Yeah, because I mean, with the way that it would work out, like if there's no Hunter on this cast, and I would assume that's Turbo's only like rival. So because I was just the first 2 being Bananas and Wes, you would think you would finally get those. Eventually, we're going to get those 2 as a team. I would imagine at some point, right?
But I think that kind of goes against what they want. I think it's more entertaining to watch them go against each other, right?
Yeah, but eventually you end up putting them together, and then they're a team, and they work it all out, and maybe that's both their last seasons. Who knows?
I think then if it's both their last seasons, I definitely think they would save that for a little bit later because Johnny does not seem like he wants to be done with these at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, like Turbo, you could pair him with D or Ninja.
Yeah, I was thinking like guy, girl rivals kind of thing.
I don't see them doing that because then at that point, when you get to the end, you end up with like 4 people winning and 2 winners that were in 2 completely different brackets.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think you can have a guy's winner and a girl's winner. It doesn't just always need to be one person. I used to like those. And then it actually gets you more challenge champions as well.
Yeah, I just don't think that's the motif for what they're going for at this point. So I wouldn't necessarily mind that. I would prefer the 4-person teams just because then the whole cast kind of has to interact with each other. Whereas when you have it split like that, the girls just tend not to care as much about what's going on with the guys and vice versa.
Yeah, unless you give them the power of the vote, like they did. I think that was Free Agents, where the girls voted for the guys and the guys voted for the girls.
They've done it twice on Rivals 2, and then on Invasion they did that as well. But if you go back and rewatch that, it kind of ends up in like, it's just like a weird political situation where, like on Rivals 2, the guys just kept voting on Cara and Cook because they knew they could keep winning. And then since they were all voting for them and they just kept on coming back, they could just only anger the one team and not anger anybody else. And it just made for a pretty boring political situation.
All right, so who do we get rid of from this guy's cast? Like, who are we missing here? It feels like we could get rid of Zach. It feels like we could get rid of
Zach.
We could get rid of Joss, I suppose.
I don't mind Joss. People are gonna get angry at me with this, but I think we could get rid of Leroy at this point.
Get rid of who?
Leroy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I like seeing Leroy around. It's weird just like looking at this cast. He's like one of the biggest layups. I'm very excited that Gus is back, though. Like, that's amazing.
Oh, my God. I'm not going to be able to handle myself with him. He's going to be one of the first 4 people gone, it looks like, because the rest of this cast is so stacked.
Maybe it turns out Gus is secret good. He was a good competitor this season. He put his heart into it, Rob. He was beating up his pretty face. Like he had the blowout going the entire time. Like, I like Gus. I can get on board with him. He's a young man too, so maybe he has potential.
He's essentially the Hans Mole man of the challenge. Then is what you're saying?
No, not at all. He looks like he's like 17 years old.
Yeah, well, I get that, but the only thing he does on the show is get hurt and then have boring confessional.
I mean, that was once. We didn't even really see him all that much. I'm there for Gus to be an elite competitor. I'd like to see what he does between season 1 and season 2 on the challenge to get himself into challenge shape. We see this happen a lot.
I better done like 30 cycles of steroids to keep up with this cast.
Maybe. I mean, that would be, avenue 1 to instantly get better at the challenge. Like, it feels like we could use Frank. Was Frank not available?
Yeah. I don't know what's up with Frank. He had made some indications like he might be willing to come back on, but then also he actually has like a decent amount of stuff going on career-wise. But like so does Wes and stuff too. So I don't know if that necessarily would have gotten in the way. I think what probably happened in that situation was they were interested in bringing him on, but then the asking price was too much from his side, so they went some other direction.
Maybe. So you have Frank. I could have used like Merlin back on this season. We haven't seen him in like 10 years, but it looks like he's in like super good shape at this point, and he was a D1 athlete. We could use him back. Who else am I missing here? No CT. That's weird.
Yeah, no CT is weird. I really think Hunter is missing on this cast, though. And I know we've seen a decent amount of Hunter lately, but like he has so many connections to this cast, and he just like when he comes on the show, he creates so many storylines with him.
Yeah, no Corey or Nelson either. I guess that somewhat. I guess they're all like I was out the other night and someone informed me that Nelson is now on Teen Mom, just hanging out with Corey.
Yeah, that's based. I think that they might have kind of moved on from him at this point. It almost seems like, but yeah, Nelson is just hanging around with Corey. I think with Hunter, he has a kid on the way, so maybe he wanted to stay home for that. But he'd also think he might be able to use some of that challenge money coming in too. So I think Zach over Hunter to me is just bad.
Yeah, speaking of that, where's Tony? We're not getting any Tony time?
Yeah, so apparently Tony posted about this on Twitter lately that there's some people in the MTV production community who aren't big fans of Tony. So maybe we won't be seeing as much of him moving forward. But like I definitely prefer Tony over Zach or Leroy or Gus. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean Gus is going to be there. He's going to be a cornerstone of the challenge for years to come. I hate Josh, but I'm glad to see him back.
Well, Josh, yeah, and Josh at least like creates storylines and stuff. Like that's the thing with Zach or Leroy at this point. Like Zach's he's definitely a very good competitor, so I don't want to take that away from him. But he's just so boring on TV, and he comes off like such a dick on TV too. Like it's not like you're on there and like, oh, Zach seems like a decent guy. It's like Zach seems terrible and then isn't entertaining either.
Yeah, like from the girls cast, like I'm very glad that we don't have my least favorite Sylvia coming back. I'm very glad that Amanda's just at least taken a season off. She was a bit much.
Oh, I love Amanda.
She is. It's the same thing every single episode. Like, just calm down.
Yeah, but Amanda I actually find very entertaining. So I would have been glad to see her back.
She is entertaining. She was entertaining the one season with Zach, but then that's the only thing that you do. Like you need to have other.
Oh, come on!
One of the good parts about a lot of these challenge competitors is that there's different sides of all of them. They can grow and they can evolve, but Amanda doesn't. She's just horrible.
I really enjoy Amanda, so I'd be glad to see Amanda back. But I mean, the rest of the female cast looks good. There's another few ones though that I'm not as big a fan of. Like I know they really want to bring in the British cast, but casting Kaylee or Zahida over Melissa, I think, is a major oversight.
Yeah, I agree. I'm big on Melissa. Total babe, great on Instagram. Could definitely be. She looks like she's in pretty good shape right now, but like challenge shape to get into it. But maybe we're missing 2 girls and a guy from this list.
Yeah, some people had talked previously. Actually, they thought this was like a big team season, and it was going to be U.S. versus like UK or U.S. versus the world. I don't know how feasible that is at this point, because at that point, I think we're at 9 U.S. girls already, so they would have to be like 9, 9, 9, and 9, and that seems like a pretty big cast. But I think we're probably missing like maybe 2 girls and 1 guy or something like that.
Well, I thought you had promised me the Chad from The Bachelor was going to be on.
Well, I had also been promised a Chad and then was misled, so I'm very upset about that.
Do we know for sure that he is not in the cast, or is he potentially the last guy in?
I mean, it's pretty set that he's not in the cast at this point. With the rookies, it seems like they just went with like cheap British rookies so they could afford more under the salary cap for everybody else.
Really?
Well, that's what it looks like to me, because I was looking back at the histories of these 4 people, and none of them are like Bear or Kyle, from at least what I've seen. So I think they're probably cheaper, and then that allows them to bring on like the bigger name vets that require a bit more of a purse.
Do you think this is going to be one of these seasons where the first 3 people out are going to be Bananas, Zach, and Wes, basically? Like, they'll just gang up on those guys? Or is this finally a season where those guys band together? I guess Jordan would be a part of their crew, too. I'm so happy to see Jordan back. I love Jordan.
I don't see Johnny working with Zach or Wes at this point. Maybe Johnny and Zach get paired together as rivals because of last season, but I don't see them working together at all.
That feels like a complete waste of bananas.
What, pairing him with Zach?
Yeah.
Well, but when they paired him with Tony on Final Reckoning, Tony was actually pretty muted throughout the season. So I think that's actually, like, if you go back and look at Johnny's partners throughout the time, a lot of times they actually end up not getting as much camera time because Johnny attracts so much attention for the partnership. So just pairing him with someone like Zach who would help him stick around in the game, but then wouldn't require that much camera time, actually wouldn't be the worst idea to me.
Yeah, and maybe if they went with rivals, maybe Bananas gets Zach as his rival's partner. Maybe Wes gets Bear as his rival's partner.
Oh, man, can you imagine screwing over Wes like that, having Johnny have Zach and then Wes gets Bear?
I don't know.
Bear's actually looking pretty jacked, though.
I mean, Bear outlasted Zach this season. I mean, if Zach just legit doesn't want to be there, he might be awful.
Yeah, I actually think a decent idea might be like a battle of the exes, but instead of just exes with ex relationships, have like ex allies as well as a partnership. Because then you could pair up like Ninja and Turbo, or you could pair up Wes and Georgia or something like that.
Yeah, I guess Wes and Bananas fall into this camp, and Zach does now too, because they're all sort of aging up. But I could have used like one old dude to be in the men's cast.
I think Jordan's probably who they think is like taking that sort of reign. I think they could have definitely picked somebody else like a Derek or a Darrell who seems to be wanting to get back on the show, but the show doesn't want them back.
Yeah, well, they ran that Universal Orlando thing. So you have Derek, you have Darrell, so they're both still like in the family kind of thing. But like Alton showed up on that, and I was like, Alton, he still looks super jacked. And if he was actually like committed to going and being there and like doing the challenges, he'd still be good.
I feel like Alt want to get done with it halfway through. Like it would be similar to Battle of the Seasons, where once he had to deal with Frank and Zach, he just did not want to be there anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. He's not there for the drama, but he's such a good competitor. Like you couldn't have coaxed Landon out.
There's been actually some talk Landon was going to be on Final Reckoning, but that ended up not coming to fruition. So I don't know. Maybe they could have tried to get Landon. But who would you ever like? Would you just knock out Zach or Leroy then and bring in Landon? It's just like, since we don't know the format for this season yet, it's kind of hard to say who they could have or should have brought in, because then we don't know if they fit the format or not.
Yeah, I mean, I could use. You can just take Zach out of the cast and put Landon in. I'd be far better with that.
I think if I was doctoring up this cast, I think I would have taken out Zach and Leroy and Gus, obviously, and then someone like Rogan makes me think that he has some role in the theme, which is why they brought him on. So I don't know if you can necessarily take him out. But then Hunter, I definitely think they should have brought on. If you could have coached like Landon out of retirement, he would have been good to bring on.
Tony.
And then Derek or Darrell. Yeah, Tony, obviously, bring him on. Derek or Darrell. There's plenty of people they could have brought on instead of them.
Yeah. So it feels like we're missing some. Pretty good cast from top to bottom, though. Like, I'm going to enjoy it, I think.
Very competitive, definitely. Like, if you look at even just how good these people are running finals, it's crazy.
Yeah, and they got rid of, like, a lot of people that I just severely don't like. Like I said, there's no Amanda, there's no Sylvia. That other Natalie girl who I can't stand isn't on it, so that's good.
Yeah, on the girls' side, Sarah's someone who I really would want them to bring back, but I just don't think that's happening just based on how they've interacted lately.
Like Sarah Rice?
Yeah, Sarah Rice.
Yeah, I would love to see Sarah back too, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't. I think last season was really the season where they should have brought on Sarah, but it just didn't end up working out.
Like last season, like the one we just watched?
Yeah, like War of the Worlds. Because just with the way that season was sort of set up, I think having her there, just because like they're paired with someone from another reality show, I think it would have been good to bring her back on.
No, we can't get like Johnny Riley and Avery back on the show either.
Well, see, I think once you reach into that point, they don't really accomplish either A, being like a vet competitor that will sort of reinvigorate the older audience, and they also don't bring in a different audience with them. So I just don't think it makes much sense for them to cast someone like that.
No, I know why. I understand the reasons why they're not on, but those, I mean, Johnny Riley especially. I really enjoyed Johnny Riley.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him back on, but like, I would rather see. There's other people who I think would be higher up on the power rankings and wouldn't even be that much of a price difference to bring on. So I can see them going in a different direction.
So who are the people that are currently banned for life from the challenge? It's Evan, it's Kenny, and Hurricane Naya. They can't be on.
Well, to be honest, I don't think anyone's really like banned. I just think once you've had certain situations happen that the insurance cost becomes too high to bring you on, which is why we won't see them, or like Camilla obviously bringing back on. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll never see those people again, I'm guessing.
I can't imagine so. That would just be strange to me. Did you see, by the way, that that article about like the Challenge Hall of Fame MTV put out that I sent to you guys?
No, I didn't. You send us so much stuff. You'd be surprised how busy I am. But tell us about it.
That is true. It was a disaster. They had an article. It was like the 10 people in the Challenge Hall of Fame, and CT was not on it, and Anissa was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what? So like, is it a ballot?
No, it was like, it seemed more than the Hall of Fame. It was like challenge superlatives, and they gave Anissa the one for like, most diligent warrior or whatever, because she's done so many seasons without winning.
I guess that's really weird.
It was an absolute garbage. It was just terrible. Like, how do you have a Challenge Hall of Fame and not have CT in there? He's like in the top 3.
Yeah, who would be? I'm trying to think of who would be in the Challenge Hall of Fame. Like, would you have to be? I guess based on this, you don't have to be retired to be in the Hall of Fame.
No, I don't think that's how they would do it. That's the thing with the Hall of Fame. Is it like the top sort of like 8% of challenge competitors? Like, what's the cutoff?
Like CT, Miz,
CT, West, and Johnny are like the top 3 easy in. And then
I think Landon's in too. Landon's like unstoppable.
Well, Landon's a great competitor, but he's only done 4 seasons. And I think if you're looking at a Challenge Hall of Fame, you're looking at it more as contributions as a character than as a competitor.
But I think you put it in the good competitors too. Like Landon won 3 seasons and 4 tries, and should have won the other one.
Yeah, he won 3 out of 4. I just don't think he's like in the initial. I think the top 4. Well, let's see. So top 4 for guys, I think would be Johnny, West, CT, and Derek at this point.
I would say Miz. Like you have to throw. He's the most famous person who's ever been on the show.
Yeah, that's true. And he was really impactful for the earlier seasons. I actually think he's kind of an overrated competitor, though. I was just saying Derek because in addition to being on the show, what he's done with the podcast to sort of like really provide a marketing tool for the show, I think has been really important these past few seasons.
So who would you throw in? Like Anissa shouldn't be in this cast whatsoever.
Like, God, no. No, I think
it's what? Coral, Evelyn.
Coral, I think I would say Coral, Evelyn, Cara, and Diem would be the first 4 girls I'd bring in.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then you have, I think and then Paula and Laurel would come somewhere after that.
Veronica you throw in at some point.
Yeah, Veronica too. Veronica too would be in there. And then Susie and Sarah are in that mix somewhere coming up. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of names you can put in that group, and you'd have to sort of knock it down to all right, what's the actual cutoff here? Because, I mean, at some point you just end up inducting a third of the cast that's been on it, and that wouldn't really be right. But
yeah, so if we're just going purely older seasons people, we didn't even say Mark Long either.
Yeah, I think Mark Long is kind of overrated in this place in challenge history because if you go back and look at it, he never did that many seasons, and he's only won twice. Oh, I think he might have actually. Yeah, he's won twice because he won Battle of the Sexes and won the first few, but he hasn't won anything really after that. And I think I would put Miz in over Mark Long. For example.
I would put Miz in over Mark Long as well. But Mark Long has been there from the very beginning. He hosted the show at one point, and he's always just kind of been a promoter of the challenge for all 33 seasons.
Yeah, like how would you compare like a Mark Long to like Theo Vaughn, for example? Like I actually think Theo is probably a better competitor, but Mark's hung around the show longer.
Yeah, well, Theo Vaughn wanted to just go on and do his own thing. He was a great character on the show. He was a good competitor on the show, but Mark just. It's like when Frank Gore inevitably gets into the Hall of Fame just because he played forever. It feels like Mark Long is going to get that in too. I could use Mark Long on this season. Like he looks like he's in game ready shape.
Yeah, no, he does. I don't know. It seems like with some of the older cast members, I was actually talking about this with you off air, that I think some of these newer guys just have like super good agents. Like they have like the Mino Raiola of reality TV agents, which is why you see a Gus or a Derek Henry get casted, and like a Derek Kaczynski or a Darrell not.
I guess the Derek thing, why he ended up getting cast in the first place, because he had that like whole thing with Tori, and Tori's like a valuable prospect on the show.
Derek Henry, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like with Final Reckoning, it was you had to have an ex or a rival, and then if you look at Tori, she actually really doesn't have that many people that would stick out as fitting that archetype, so they had to bring on Derek Henry.
Can we get a season where we pair together people that like each other? Is that too much to ask?
Well, I think one issue with that is then it becomes harder to bring on rookies, right? Because if it's like the challenge allies and they haven't been on the challenge before, they don't really have any allies.
Yeah, but I mean, if you grab two people from X on the Beach or two people from Shipwrecked, like there's people on these shows there's people on these shows that get along.
No, that's definitely true.
Because
I could be down.
Well, I was just gonna say, and anyone who says that, like the rivals and the X's, it creates this drama between everyone, that never happens. When even on these rival seasons, you put the two biggest rivals together, they just end up friends after 2 episodes.
Yeah, like that happened with Johnny and Tony on Final Reckoning, and then now we actually don't get a Johnny-Tony rival like we could have gotten. Now they're actually just like buddies again.
Yeah, so it really defeats the purpose of it. So just put people together who like each other. Maybe that will be more fun.
Yeah, I do think there is definitely some cool pairs you could come up with that. Like I think Wes and Hunter after last season, I really liked how their dynamic played out, so I think that would be a fun pair. But like I said, though, I just don't think they really want to have. First off, I definitely don't think they should do mixed teams again, where there's some that are, male-male, some female-female, and some male-female. And then I also just don't think they want to do it where there's male-male and female-female teams. I think that just makes a divided game, and then there's just too many people winning at the end.
I could use the team. I'm pro going back to a team format. Maybe if you really want to expand the cast, have 4 teams of 10.
Yeah, I could see that. I think a Battle of the Shows format would actually also be really cool too. Like you could have like an MTV UK team. You could have like a Survivor team, a Bachelor team, a Real World team. And with the way they're casting now, if they're casting from so many different shows, like initially that wouldn't have seemed realistic because there would have been too many Real World people to be on. But like for this cast for next season, there's only 2 Real World girls and like I think like 3 or 4 Real World guys. So I think that becomes a much more viable format.
You could do that, but you're really like Xing out a lot of your actual challenge people. Maybe you dedicate like a Real World team. Maybe you dedicate a challenge team, or maybe even try to split up the challenge teams into teams of 4, but before 2002 or 2012, post 2012, something like that.
Actually, what I was thinking they would do with that is so like Cara, for example, is from Fresh Meat. So like you wouldn't really want to just have a Fresh Meat team. So then what you could do is have like a quote unquote challenge team. And then that could be like half Fresh Meat, half Road Rules. So you could have like Cara, and then you probably have to bring on like a Laurel or Veronica, yeah. And then you could have Darrell and Derek as get 2 guys on the team.
Yeah, I mean, you could combine those properties together. I would be for something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. It beats, like, Battle of the Seasons, I guess, made a lot of sense when Real World had a real impact on all of this, but yeah, it's not plausible anymore.
No, definitely not. Like that just wouldn't work. That's why I think a Battle of the Shows would basically be pretty similar to that format. And then also that plays into really what a lot of people have talked about is sort of the rivalries on the show. Like we've already seen like the UK people sort of banding together, the Big Brother people banding together. And people have talked about it like an old school versus new school. But I just don't think that's really realistic. And I actually kind of think the new school would just dust the old school.
Oh, expand on that. What do you mean by that? Like you think that the new British people would just kill the old American people?
No, I just think when you look at the girls and compare them to the older school girls, I think the new school girls would rock the older school girls. Like you certainly have your quality competitors like old school, like a Cara or a Laurel, but eventually you'd start running out of spots and you have to fill it in with like a Veronica or somebody else from back in that time frame, and they just wouldn't be competitive with the top girls on the new school team.
Well, if you could get the right people, like if you had like an optimal selection from anyone you wanted, then you could have Laurel, you could have Cara, you could have Evelyn, you could have Emily, and your team would be pretty good.
Evelyn's not coming back. I just don't think that's realistic. Like, and then if like let's say you do the cutoff at like let's say you'd probably have to do it where it was like old school, middle school, and new school to sort of get the cast to work out. But so if you do it where like let's say I don't know, what do you think is a good cutoff? Like X's to her back is like the old school girls. And once you'd get it where it's like Jen is like the fourth best girl on the old school team. And if you even look at just the girls from last season, you have Ninja, Georgia, Maddie, and Dee, who that top four is already probably better than the top four on the old school team.
Yeah, I don't know how good Dee actually is, to be perfectly honest with you. Like,
I think she leaned on Wes.
Being paired with Wes really worked to her advantage.
Okay, well, sure. But even if you discount her, like Ninja, Maddie, and Georgia, I think are a pretty stacked group. And that's just from this season. That's not counting out who else they're going to cast in.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on the challenge world? Anything new?
No. I mean, I think this season is really good. I think next season is looking like a pretty solid good. One quick question, though. So if you were having someone to just start watching the challenge, and they weren't necessarily asking where they should start. They just wanted to like see what the show is about. I actually think this season, like this past season, World of the World is a really good season to start them on.
Yeah, I think so. I think that works out really well. And I mean, if you want to get people into it, like Free Agents is a really good year to jump in. Even Duel 2, just because the first episode of Duel 2 is probably still the best episode of the challenge. So that's a good one to jump in.
I actually think episode 2 of this season is like an all-time episode.
All right, give your head a shake, Rob. Come on now.
I'm serious, man. I honestly, that's like one of my favorite TV episodes since the Fun Run episode of The Office.
Yeah, that's not where I would start. Like, you could start people with this season because there's nothing really to know. You'd get to know the people that you're supposed to know, and those people be in going forward. But like, if it was me at a cutoff, I'd either start with Inferno 2 or Fresh Meat 1.
Yeah, well, that's a different question, though. I think we're to start watching. I would just think to introduce someone to the show. Like, I've actually had a few different people I've introduced to the show, and I've shown them episode 2 of this season to like start off, and they've all been pretty hooked on it to start. Because I just think episode 2 is like a really good encapsulation of the challenge. Because you've got the mission isn't great, but then everything else about the episode, how it sets up the like Hunter versus Johnny dynamic as a misdirection, and then you get the Hunter versus Smashley elimination at the end. And they actually do an okay job of fleshing out the Hunter Smashley rivalry too. So I think that episode actually is very good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not better than the first episode of Duel 2, which is the best.
I don't know, man. Like, but the first episode of Duel 2, there's a massive fight at the beginning.
Yeah.
But if you start someone on that, they're not going to know what's going on. They have no idea what's going on with CT and DM and Adam and why they all hate each other.
It's a legitimate fist fight that goes on for like 25 minutes, and CT's an absolute psychopath in it. It is just enthralling television. You're just a coward. You don't like that sort of stuff.
No, I'm fine with that sort of stuff. I think it's an entertaining episode. I just think like with the mission and do you remember what the mission elimination on that episode?
Who cares? That's not the point.
Well, but that's important to the challenge. That's
no, it's not. No,
it's
the entertainment factor of the show. There's never been an episode that's been more entertaining.
Oh my God, I disagree heavily with that claim. I think like that's a big part of the show is how the drama in the house bleeds into the missions and eliminations, and I think episode 2 of this season does an outstanding job of that. And with episode 1 of that season, the main drama in the show, the people just end up getting launched afterwards. So it just has no effect on anything else moving forward.
Well, I mean, it had an effect on CT's entire career arc.
Yeah, but you don't see that. You don't see that until the next time he pops on. Which
well, you don't need to because all you want to do, and the only question you'll ask after episode 1 is, does that guy ever come back? And you're like, yeah, he does. You're like, oh my God, I need to see that episode.
Yeah, well, so then if we're going back to the situation of introducing someone to the show, this is the first episode you show them, and the main character in that episode is not back on for the 3 seasons. Like then you start hopping around seasons. I don't think that's the best way to start off.
Well, I mean, it gets people pumped to continue watching the show. The only downside I could see is if they watch that episode, every subsequent episode is just going to be worse. So that's maybe not a good thing.
Yeah, that's what episode 2. I do think episode 2 is the best episode of this season, but I think the subsequent episodes still build off very well off of that. And then with that one, CT's just gone, so then there's no build up to that. And Duel 2 actually has a pretty low drama season after that too. So,
all right, Rob, pimp the show. Tell everyone what you guys are covering right now on the Challenge Chronicles.
Yep. So check us out at the Challenge Chronicles. We're on iTunes as well as you go to our website at podbean.com. We're wrapping up the Inferno 2 now, and then we're going to have a podcast on the top female competitors coming up soon as well.
All right, cool. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the PME. If you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, you can rate, review, subscribe to the audio podcast. DraftKings handles something nice. That's one way. For the video shows, smash the like button, leave your DraftKings handle. Tell me your 3 favorite finales of all time on the challenge. I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!